Now we're asked to graph a number of functions. So I've listed x values here, and all these functions were asked to graph for x equals -2, -1, -1/2, 0, 1/2, 1, and 2. Excuse me. Okay, so the first function we're asked to graph is y equals x squared. Well, we substitute the x value, and we get what? -2 squared is 4, -1 squared is 1, -1/2 squared is 1/4, 0 squared is 0, 1/2 squared is 1/4, 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4. And of course we note that 2 and -2 have the same square, because the negative is going to, when you square a negative, you're going to get a negative times a negative, you're going to get a positive. So the square of -2 will be the same as the square of 2. The square of -1 will be the same as the square of 1, -1/2, same as the square root of 1/2. So we have this symmetry about 0, where we have same numbers going this way as we have going this way, and that's going to have implications for the graph of y equals x squared. Okay, now when we do y equals x cubed, well, we cube -2, well, we then have -2 times -2 times -2, 3 negatives, going to give us -8. And -1 cubed is going to be -1, -1/2 cubed, -1/8, and so forth. And these numbers all should be completely obvious. Okay, now we're asked to do then y equals x squared plus x cubed. Well, we could plug -2 in and get 4 here and get -8 here and add that and get -4. But since we've already calculated x squared in this column and x cubed in this column, all we really need to do is add this number to this number. That's going to give us the same thing, -4. 4 and -8 gives us -4. 1 and -1 is going to give us 0. 1/4 and -1/8 is going to give us positive 1/8. 0 and 0, that's 0. 1/4 and 1/8 is 3/8. 1 and 1 is 2. 4 and 8 is 12. Now, we could have, again, taken any of these numbers. We could have taken 1 and plugged it in here. 1 squared plus 1 cubed, that's 1 plus 1, that's 2. But again, we can just read off the x squared and x cubed values from these two columns and add them, and we have the same result. And we're going to use that idea when we graph these functions. Okay, what about y equals quantity x minus 1 squared? Well, -2 minus 1 is -3, so that's going to give us 9. -1, plug in for x, -1 minus 1 is -2, square that, you get 4. -1/2 squared is going to be -1/2 minus 1 squared. -3/2 squared is going to be 9/4, or 2 1/4. 0 squared, well, I mean, if x is 0, you get 0 minus 1 squared, so you get -1 squared, you get 1. And so forth. So these numbers come out in a pretty straightforward manner. There's also another pattern we can have between the numbers in this column, the numbers in this column, and the numbers in the x column. But we can't do that with the x values that we have here. We really need to do that when the x values are equally spaced. So we'll do that separately a little bit later. There's kind of an interesting thing that happens here and gives you the idea of one of the of a transformation. I'm not going to say any more about that right now. Okay. Now we have y equals 2x squared. So we could again plug 2 in, -2 in, square it, and multiply by 2. We would get 8. But since we already have x squared, it's really easier just to double this number and get 8. Double the 1 that we get for x squared to get 2. Double the 1/4 we get here and get 1/2, and so on down the line. Just double all of these numbers and you get the numbers for y equals 2x squared. And that's going to be important. Okay. And what about y equals x squared plus 2? Well, we have the values of x squared. All we have to do is add 2 to the values of x squared. Instead of plugging in -2 to get -2 squared, which is 4, and add 2, we get 6. We just already have squared -2 here, so we add 4 to the 2 and get 6. and we add the 1 to the 2 in order to get our 3, the 1/4 to the 2 to get a 9/4 or 2 1/4, and so forth. Okay? So, now we want to go ahead and construct these graphs. And as we see, there are relationships between any of these graphs and the numbers in these columns. And we want to kind of use that to help us understand some things about graphs. Now, I've sketched all the graphs here, and I've sketched them in different colors, but they're all jumbled up now, and you're not going to be able to sort them out. Also, you probably don't have perfect resolution, and it's going to be a little hard to see them possibly. So we're going to construct the graphs over here. And we're going to start with the graph of y equals x squared. Okay? Now, I've got these color-coded. I'm going to use the same colors, and I'm not finding the color I need, so I'm going to pause for a second.